This is Jazz FM 88.3 KSDS San Diego.
Yeah, on that Dia de los Muertos, we bring you music from a band called Jazz from the Crypt. The name of that one, Goons, coming from last year's release, Ritual, and I'm glad to have the band leader of that outfit, Nate Bumar, in with us, bass player, composer of that tune, as well as guitarist Tate McKay. He's in studio with me right now. The chief sound engineer on that record, Giancarlo Mendez. He also joins us remotely and instrumentally there Tate and Nate were joined by Justin Joyce, who wrote all the arrangements for Bumauer's compositions on that album. He's on drums, Tamir Persekian on keys, Liam Keefe on saxophone, Jazz from the Crypt with Goons. Prior to that, we heard Ghost Note, tune written by Sput Searite titled Grandma's Curtains, that coming from last year's Mustard and Onion release on the Mac Avenue label. It was Eric Gales on lead guitar, Sput Searite and Dominique Xavier Taplin lead vocals, and Ghost Note, as you heard on my interview with Sput Searite, they'll be at Winston's in OB Thursday and Friday night of this week, so that's pretty cool. And another thing that's pretty cool is, like I said, I'm joined here in studio by Nate Bumauer, great bass player and band leader, Tate McKay, wonderful young guitarist, and the engineer on this fine recording effort, Giancarlo Mendez. Thank you guys for joining me here on Breaking Jazz. It's a real treat to have you guys here.
Thanks for having us, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, the press materials liner notes for this album are not exactly robust, but I appreciate men a few words like yourselves. The one quote that stood out to me, though. Now, Nate, these are all your original compositions, and in the notes, it's written that this collection of music, quote, is telling the story of one man's descent to rock bottom and what is found that. So it begs the question, who is that man? And is that man you? Or who is this mysterious protagonist who is the inspiration for this music?
Yeah, very mysterious. It is me. These are all like songs I'd written throughout my 20s. It's kind of like a sampling of like 10 years of playing.
Oh yeah, I too was very dark in my 20s. It was a great time for me.
And so I found that like once I like put the album together and had it all and was listening through it, I realized it was kind of a progression, you know, of different moments in those years, and sort of the really rock bottom moments, and then the moments of excitement. Like the Goons was actually written for a friend that I like. When I got into SDSU, I knew I wouldn't be seeing them that much anymore. So I like wrote my first song at SDSU as like a portrait to them, and things like that.
Yeah, respect. It's an affectionate name for a group of friends, the Goons.
Yeah, one of the other members of the group would refer to us as that.
The Goon Squad. The Goon Squad.
Exactly. Like old 80s TV.
Yeah. No, I respect that. You also interestingly, from the music standpoint, you reference Wayne Shorter as a big inspiration for your compositions. Obviously, I think of that Speak No Evil album. It's got Witch Hunt on there and all that stuff. What were the particular strands of Wayne Shorter's catalog that were most inspirational when you were writing these tunes?
Yeah, definitely like Night Dreamer and Juju and Schizophrenia.
Yeah.
And as that sort of stuff, it was really like sort of his choice of harmonies and sort of the attitude and approach towards playing and band leading. It just it's almost like you're seeing a scene of a movie in each of his songs. Like they have a very distinct mood and identity and location almost to them. And that always attracted me to him, like, always coming back to it.
Yeah, I agree with you. The cinematic, very film noir type to a lot of those things. Although certainly they're not monochromatic by any means. Tate McKay, the guitarist on this album, you've got some great playing on here. One of my favorite moments is your solo from the title track. And on a record like this, with a tune like that, when you approach a solo like that, are you consciously thinking about evoking like a sense of foreboding in the listener? What does that feel like? Like, are you saying to yourself, keep it dark, keep it dark, keep it dark? And not necessarily in terms of your musical choices per se, but like the way you're choosing to lend various types of sound effects to your guitar playing to kind of color the notes you're playing.
Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely, I was trying to come from the headspace of this is Jazz from the Crypt, right? And Nate loves his, his spooky intense harmony and everything. But also I wanted to, kind of bounce off of the energy in the room. Justin Joyce, phenomenal drummer, great interaction. The whole band really just lifts you up, and I think it's hard not to evoke the vibe of the song.
Absolutely. And Giancarlo Mendez, the sound engineer extraordinaire on this record. As a recording engineer, Giancarlo, what's the critical piece of your role in ensuring that these guys are hitting the aesthetic that they have in mind for these tunes as squarely as possible?
Well, that's a good question. To hit the aesthetic, well, I guess, just always try to get the best players that you can. And the way that session came about was earlier that week we were doing a school project for Nate, and we set everything up, and I was like, dude, I'll keep the equipment up for you, but just make sure you can get the best players you possibly can, and let's knock that out. And having the best players that can speak to each other, that are comfortable enough to speak to each other, even if it's their first time meeting, and let themselves speak through music, right? That's really what I think jazz is all about, and what a good session should be. And I think we really pulled it off for that record. And the setup was cool. We have photos of it all. Maybe we can get those to you. We photographed the entire session. And we can show you the setup. Everybody was basically standing in a large circle in a beautiful large room, facing each other, and it was all done live with no isolation. Just how Rudy Van Gelder would have done it, and he's one of my idols, and I try to record and make records sound like him.
Well, that is a good idol to have, no doubt. And yeah, Giancarlo, certainly email me those photos, and when I announce tomorrow on our social media platforms that tonight's show is available for on-demand listening at your time and convenience, and the time of your pleasure, jazz88.org, where each and every episode of Breaking Jazz from anything that we've recorded over the past 2 years is available to you, whenever you'd like. So when we announce that tomorrow and get it online, we can decorate it with those photos, and that'll be a cool thing. Talk to me about Nate, or whomever would like to jump in, because the next track I'm gonna dive into is that title track where I said I really enjoyed Tate's playing. When you're there's pressure on the title track to really live up to the right. I mean, if you're assigning something to be the title, you better come with it. So what was your thought process in crafting that one?
So that one is actually written like the day before.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Some of the greatest genius comes spontaneous.
Yeah, pretty much all these songs are songs that like suddenly snap together, really. The chord progression for Ritual was actually in like a school project that I didn't really like the outcome of, and I kind of just took those first 4 chords and just started reworking them a little bit, and suddenly they just came together as that song. And then so the first time I really heard it was when we recorded it, and what was great is the favorite part is we asked a lot of Justin. I was like, hey, so Justin, you have to really like embody the John Coltrane Quartet here. You have to be Elvin Jones.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. You didn't know you were going to tonight, and this is the 3rd song we recorded, and it's like 11 at night, so no pressure. And he really brought it, and everyone killed it. And it's a song of like Ritual, where it's supposed to be like high energy and like a little like almost aggressive, almost like too aggressive. So yeah, just came together. He had a great idea too, Justin, of having Tate echo on guitar the melody in the B section, and that became just like, that is like my favorite moment of the album.
Yeah,
is that right there. So
there's vigorous head nodding going on, affirming that point of view. I'm
nodding over here
amongst the band members. So let's see if our listeners agree. This coming from Jazz from the Crypt, their album last year, Ritual, the title track here. our band leader, bassist Nate Bumauer on bass. As I said, Tate McKay on guitar, Justin Joyce drums, Tamir Persekian on keys, Liam Keefe on saxophone. This is Jazz from the Crypt and Ritual here on Breaking Jazz.
Hey, Matt. I'm not sure if you're going to have me back on for the next section or not, but I did. If I'm not going to be on, I did want to mention to you that we didn't mix the record. Everything sounded so good as it was recorded live. That's what I'm hearing. The record had no mix.
Yeah, it's the title track from last year's Ritual from Jazz from the Crypt. Nate Bumar, leader on bass, Tate McKay on guitar, Justin Joyce on drums, Tamer Persekian on keys, Liam Keefe saxophone, and I'm glad to be joined here by several members of that wonderful outfit. Tate McKay joins us tonight, Nate Bumar joins us tonight, and sound engineer Giancarlo Mendez from that project joins us tonight. And gentlemen, one of the real pleasures of doing this gig is getting to watch you guys interact as you listen back to your own recordings and sort of self-critique and say like, oh, well, you know, we could have added some more distortion there, or like, oh man, that's just perfect. You know, I don't know. It's just a fly from a music fan and just a fly on the wall perspective. When you go back and listen to stuff, what do you wish you could have done differently, or are you very, very pleased on the whole with how the final product came out?
You know, I feel like that's always going to depend a little bit on your mood in the moment. You know,
right?
But it's I think it's kind of point with like you kind of you almost treat it like athletes treat games, where you're going in, you're like, I'm gonna do everything I can and everything I can do today, and then you take it as like, okay, this is me that day, you know. So I mean, but one of my favorite things is like I was able to bring a bunch of friends together and bring these things I wrote on a piano by myself to life, and they just gave it so much more than I ever had envisioned it, you know.
Well, what Giancarlo was telling me off air is that when the opportunity presented itself to, you know, do a lot of things to the music in post production or whatever, you know, there was a lot of it was just kind of left in its most natural state. Giancarlo, you want to comment on that a little bit?
Yeah, when we were playing things back there in the room, Nate and I were kind of looking at each other and some other members, you know, everybody, we were like, man, it sounds good. And then as the days and week went by, you know, we call each other and we're like, I think, you know, it's good enough as is. I mean, so we didn't mix anything on the record. You know, yeah, you could always change anything you want in the mix, right? But no, that was how the levels were set going in, and that's very rare. That's very rare. But miracles can happen, and I think that was one of those records where it happened like that.
Yeah, and is it also kind of a thing to try to, you know, discipline yourself or restrain yourself from the compulsion of not meddling with something that has come out pretty darn good, because right, you know.
Well said. Yeah, a lot of people will always be like, well, you always got to EQ this or put a compressor on that. You just have to. It's the rules. I like breaking the rules, you know.
No, you're on breaking. You're on Breaking Jazz. This is all we do. This is the show of constant transgression. Yeah,
so and that tends to frustrate me when working with because a lot of times I just produce records and there's other engineers and they'll mic up a guitar the same way they mic a guitar amp a million times over, and I'll say, well, let's do this, and they'll be like, that's crazy, and then I'll set it up and then they'll be like, wow, it sounds incredible. I'm like, yeah, doing things out of the box makes things special. Doing things spontaneously can make things special. And I think that's exactly what this record embodies with how quick it came together. I mean, yeah, Nate wrote a tune just the night before the session. A lot of these players had never even played or met until that night. Remember, Nate? We didn't even think we could get Justin Joyce on the record. And that was, a get for me because I always wanted to work with him. So yeah, when momentum happens like that and there's wind in the sails, magic happens, and I just love chasing that magic and capturing it.
Yeah, and that's incredible to me that Nate mentioned to me off the air that Tate actually came in and was one of those guys who basically sight read everything kind of on the spot and produced what you guys were able to produce. It's pretty amazing. But I guess my question is, in your experience, do you find that there is a magic and a spontaneity, something ineffable that you can kind of get with that when there is sort of a commitment to not over preparing or something like that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's what the magic is. It's that space in between the things we prepare for, you know?
Yeah.
And when you allow yourself to be spontaneous, you know, that air, that magic in between what we think is going to happen, it really speaks, you know? And I just want to mention Tate's tone on the record, I think is one of the coolest tones, guitar tones ever. I think it's a new sound. I don't know, man, but not a lot of jazz guitar tones sound like that, and I think it's fresh, man. I loved it.
Oh yeah.
Hey, thanks, Giancarlo.
Now, Nate told me that you guys had a really hectic schedule last Halloween season, and you were out around town playing jazz from the Crypt tunes a lot. Now, this year you've taken it easy with sort of live performing the songs from this record. But I know each of you are individually pretty darn busy playing other gigs with other groups. So let the folks know where they can catch you around town playing and with whom.
I'd say my two big regular ones right now are first Thursdays at $7,000. And then with Red Condor, and then every second Saturday with Kyler J at Books and Records. That one's really fun. It's just this little trio in a restaurant. It's like that's one of my favorite sort of settings to play jazz and blues. It's this little spot in a restaurant.
Yes, sir. Tate McKay, how about you, sir?
My main project is a band called Super Cool, and we're kind of a 10-piece funk band with horns and great vocalists. We just released a tune called Rear View. So if you want to check it out and then follow us, we're playing out.
Awesome. And I presume that for all of this music and all of the recordings you're speaking of, at least, including this one, Ritual, available on all the conventional methods of acquiring music, the streaming services and wherever else. If people is there vinyl? Is there anything else that people can get into if they're interested in that? Or you guys have a website? Anything? You're here, so it's here's your chance to get it out there.
You can definitely keep up to date with what's going on with it through my Linktree, which is my last name, Linktree, or on my Instagram. That's BEUMAHER_music. And things will always be posted there. That's coming up. Like you said, we did take it easy this year because usually we try to book out October for shows the whole time. It was initially we're going to take it easy to do another album, but we're that's still in the books. It's still cooking.
It's still cooking. Okay. All right. Let it cook. Let him cook. Wonderful, folks. Well, Jazz from the Crypt. Very cool. Nate Bumar. Tate McKay. Great engineer. Had some interesting things to say. Giancarlo Mendez. Thank you all for joining us here on Breaking Jazz, and we really dig the record, and we'll be really interested to see what the permutation of Jazz from the Crypt looks like next Halloween season. I know you guys are sort of like it's a sort of like a rotating tap approach with your personnel and instrumentation. But you guys do a great job. Nate, the compositions are wonderful, and Justin Joyce does a great job with the arrangements. And Tate, love your guitar playing on the record, and I'm just honored that you guys have stopped by Breaking Jazz and graced my humble program with your genius. So thank you guys. Jazz from the Crypt. Check them out, and check them each of them out individually when you can. They are playing all over San Diego, and they're going to keep doing it. Thank you so much, guys, for stopping by and joining us on Breaking Jazz.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks so much.
All right, absolutely. Let's play one more from these guys. Once again, it's from last year's Ritual. Nate Bumauer on bass. It's his composition. Tate McKay on guitar. Justin Joyce on drums. Tamer Persekian on keys. And Liam Keefe on saxophone. This is Jazz from the Crypt with a tune titled Ice 10. And it is Breaking Jazz.
Recording stopped.